thanks for joining me here. Not really here. You were in the Netherlands.
I'm in Nijmegen, right by the German
Nijmegen, that's how you
in
say it.
Netherlands. Nijmegen, yeah, with a J. Nijmegen. Yeah, I'm in Nijmegen.
How long have you been there now?
It'll be, how long have I been here this time? 11 months this time.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been here a lot of times and back in the past on tour and stuff, but now I've been living here 11 months, and before that, New York, and before that, Australia, and before that, New York, and before that, DC, and before that, San Francisco, and before that, LA, and before that, Leeds, England, before that, New York, and before that, DC.
Right. So that's where it all started, right? You were born in DC?
DC, born and bred, me and go-go, and me and hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what made you travel so much? Was it...
That was mostly touring. Well, I went to college in New York, and then I transferred and went to college in England. And when I was in England, I started touring with a band called Surfing Dave. It was when I was traveling around Europe playing guitar, and then that finished right around the time that the Rollins Band started, because Black Flag broke up, and Henry and I were friends from DC, and we'd always wanted to do a project together. So Rollins Band started around '87, and I stayed in England until '89, and then I moved to LA because it was just more convenient for the band. Yeah. And just move around wherever we're musicians. You go where the gig is. You go where you can rehearse and where you can live cheap. You want to live somewhere where you feel like there's a dynamic that you can feed off of, and people you can interact with, and also just certain kind of just basic conveniences about is it cheap enough to live without having to work too much that you don't get to play music. Are there facilities? Are there rehearsal rooms? Are there gigs to go see? Is there kind of group of musicians, people to meet, people to interact and learn from? Are there clubs? Do people from other towns come and play there? Can you get anywhere else from there? These are all considerations. But I think most of it's just luck of the draw, though.
Yeah. Out of all those places that you've lived, which has been your favorite so far?
Well, so far, where I am now.
Yeah.
No, Nijmegen is really good. Netherlands is really, really good. And before this, it partially depends on where you are at different times. I mean, different places are really good at different times. And New York was really great in the '80s. And the '70s and stuff for different reasons. But now, Manhattan scene isn't what it was, and I think that's true in a lot of the cities. I mean, just a lot of the change in the economy and the change in the way people, the re-urbanization of America has made it so it's really expensive to be a musician in a place like San Francisco. So all my friends from San Francisco, for example, got moved out to Berkeley, and then now they've been moved out of Berkeley and they moved to Oakland, and they're leaving Oakland and they're moving to Davis. And so same with New York. I mean, New York, the same. None of the musicians I know can afford to live in Manhattan anymore. And CB's is gone, Brownie's is gone.
Right.
Continental is gone, and the scene just changes. So where's been the best place? Well, right now Nijmegen's a really good place. Holland's really just anywhere in Holland. It's not a big country. It's very convenient for getting around the rest of Europe.
Yeah.
It's really convenient for the UK. So in terms of just the facility of where do you go that it's easy to go play gigs.
A little bit of history about you. You're probably best known as the guitarist with Rollins Band, although you've done a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
Who are some of the more notable people that you've played with?
Well, the most notable would be Bowie, but that was only one song, and then I got hired for a tour that didn't happen. But and there's also did some stuff with Fetus. I played with Jaw Wobble. Played with Pigface. Did a little bit of stuff with Lloyd Cole a long time ago. It's got to be more than that, but it's mostly Rollins Band. I mean, Rollins Band is what I've done most of, and Bowie's the most famous person I've ever played with, and everything else is just kind of in between. The Bowie thing was really cool, but I mean, it was mostly because, not most. Well, I mean, we got along and stuff, and he liked what I was doing, But most I'm just, friends with Reeves. Gabrels is just a really awesome guitar player who was his guitar player at the time, and we just had a really good kind of synergy. We're very different kinds of people, but are very complementary. So I think David thought it would be a really good mix. But mostly my experiences with Bowie were hanging out, watching C-SPAN, and listening to him talk about 20th century British painting, which is way more, playing on a track with him, like, that's David Bowie singing, and that's pretty cool. But hanging out, like, having him discuss, like, what the Senate is doing is even kind of cooler,
Yeah,
and I learned an awful
surreal.
lot about 20th century art, about this 20th century painting. So, but it was a different experience. But it's really interesting sometimes when you find it's one of the things that I guess that as a musician you don't anticipate a lot, which is the when you're younger and when you're working really hard and you're trying to make it or get somewhere, you think about your success and what's happening with you, and then but every once in a while you get a moment. If you're really lucky, you get a moment where you meet somebody who really inspired you, who really meant a lot to you, who really changed your life, and you get to say thank you to them. And that to me was actually the coolest thing about working with David was, it's always a relief when somebody you really admire turns out to be actually nice and not a jerk. And that was already a relief. But then just the ability to just hang out and go, wow, you meant a lot to me, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if you hadn't done what you'd already been doing. So thanks. Without kind of passive, and that's just something that when you're working, it's just one of those moments you don't think about a lot.
How did you and Henry meet? You guys met in
We
D.C.
grew up together. I mean, well, not grew up. We met in D.C. on the early punk rock scene in the '70s. That's when he was working at Haagen-Dazs and with Ian Mackay, whom I also knew. Ian was in the Teen Idols, and Henry, I don't think he was already in SOA or not, but he used to come see the Enzymes, which was my band. And we knew each other because there weren't that many kids on the scene. And, then I went off to college and he went off and joined Black Flag, and we didn't see each other till '84. So when we met up again, and just found that, our musical ideas were very much in alignment, and just kind of kept on trading tapes. And, I think I actually was in D.C., I guess it was '87. Yeah, it must have been 86, 87, something. I don't remember which it was. He was in D.C., I was in D.C., and that was also like the day Black Flag broke up. And the response was, okay, we've always wanted to do something, let's do it. Go book some time, get a band, write some songs. Done,
Right.
That's how the Rollins Band started. And then we just kept going. We just worked, really, really hard back then. I mean, our first American tour was booked by Randy Ellis. And he was a booking guy at a really important place called Trenton City Gardens in Trenton, New Jersey, which was like a main stopping place for every band that was touring America at that point. And interestingly, there's actually a documentary being made right now about Randy Ellis and his importance to the American music scene. I can't remember, but I'll send you the link. And he worked under the name Randy Now. And anyway, so he was a friend of Henry's from booking Black Flag so many times. And Henry called him and said, I need a van and I need someone to book some shows. Everybody, So Randy bought a van, which he then rented to us, and booked us around the United States.
Wow.
He booked us, I think, like twice first time, but he was busy. I mean, he was booking full-time, booking a venue in Trenton, New Jersey.